What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are fresh off of our very first podium of our career in Russia. A nice little storm through the field after starting 13th in a rainy session. But now we are headed round 17 to Suzuka in Japan, which is Honda, the engine manufacturer's home race. So Red Bull and Toro Rosso will certainly be looking for a good result here. But we're going to go ahead and pop into the garage here and get ready to take a peek through our messages, see where our R&D is going. So far, at least in the messages, it says development's completed, which is a good sign for us, which means nothing failed. Hallelujah. We'll just have to see now how, since we did a new chassis development, how it'll play with the adjustments or adaptations. But finally, for once, an all-dry weekend is finally arrived to us after 8 weeks. 8 whole weeks, we finally have a full dry weekend. So as you can see with our chassis development, we had that first tire roll dampeners, that middle one. It is now orange, so apparently any new developments we do are going to still be susceptible to the adaptation penalty, and we'll have to pay for that. So honestly, it seems like we're basically going to be stopping all chassis development for the rest of the season. 5 races left to go, so it shouldn't be too big of a penalty, but we have four things to adjust and tweak. Parts wise, we seem to be doing all right. New practice gearbox going in, no penalties there. Hopefully we've got enough gearbox to make it to the end of the season though on the race piece.
Welcome to the only figure of 8 track on the F1 calendar. We're here at Suzuka for qualifying today ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix. Looking at this field today, Anthony, do you think we're going to see anyone take a chance? Maybe run the hard tyres and save some of the grippier tyres for the race tomorrow?
Well, I'd be surprised in all honesty. It's only the front runners that really have the pace to get away with that. And even then, at the end of the day, it's a big risk. Track position is the most important thing, and it's rarely worth sacrificing for a slightly more optimal strategy in the race, so I doubt we're going to see anyone trying it. I have been wrong before though. We certainly do see some risky decisions every now and then, and it's a gamble that's sometimes worth taking. But if it were me in the car, I would want to be on the fastest tyre for my qualifying lap, without a doubt.
So let's pop in the car for our first flying lap of Suzuka, so you can take a peek and see how this track is laid out. We are flat down the main front straight there into the double right-hander of turns 1 and 2. If you're brave with it, you can basically go turn 1 flat and then get on the brakes as you come out to set yourself up for turn 2, but now we're through the winding S sections that each one just gets a little bit longer and longer until you finally head to this uphill left-hander and you get on the power, finish the decreasing radius of that left-hander, and we are about to head into the next 2 tight right-handers. You can throw that one over the curbs at pretty high speed. You got to drop it way down, lean into the banking to get on to the next flat out section here. A little right-hand kink. Try to brake as much in a straight line as you can to set yourself up for this hairpin to get down to that apex. And now we are onto this long sweeping right-hander. Flat out, turn up as much speed as you can and get yourself set up for the braking section, the double left-hander of the famous spoon corner. So that shallow first one, totally missed the apex on the second. You really have to slow yourself down more than you think in order to get down to that apex. But now we are shooting back up the hill, fairly bumpy track all the way around as we get close to 130R, then a flat out left-hander. Now we're going to go ahead and hit the brakes down into the final chicane. And as you get on the throttle here, there's a huge bump here. As you can see, just unsettles the car, spinning the tires, but we cross the line through that final right-hander to set our first lap time. So here we are jumping ahead to our 3rd flying lap of the session. Through the chicane, you can see that big, huge bump as you come through there. It makes it realistically something you should be able to get on the power and just accelerate through that corner, but that bump really throws you off. But we go P6 in Q1, easily through to Q2. So here we are, we're doing our first Q2 lap on the medium tires. You see a car coming out of the pits just ahead of us, should be getting out of the way, but Sergio Perez just parks himself at slow speed on the racing line while we're on our flying lap. Just totally ruins our first flying lap on our medium tires. So we're going to try and get by him. And we're going to turn everything down on the engine to try and save some fuel, recharge the battery for our next flying lap here. So he's decided to accelerate as we try to run up on us as we start our flying up. And he's going to go ahead and stick his nose down and just take us out into turn 1 on our second attempt at a flying lap. So we have to jump onto the soft tires. He totally ruined our mediums with that slide. We were really hoping to make it through on the medium tires. This is our literal only chance to get through to Q3. But we wanted to make it through on the medium so we could at least have some strategy choices starting on the medium. But we go ahead and go P4 in Q2 on the soft, so we'll be starting on that tire set there. And George Russell also 8th place, making it through to Q3 as well. But here we are, jumping to the end of lap 1 in our Q3 session here. See where we go. Sitting P5 currently as the only lap we turned in.
Qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Verstappen, Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us there.
Verstappen on pole for his engine manufacturer's home race. We are sitting currently 8th and 10th in the Williams, myself and George Russell. We'll see where we shake out on the grid. Certainly somebody's taking penalties.
And a very warm welcome to the Japanese Grand Prix, an event that has decided a Drivers' Championship 11 times over the years and has hosted some very memorable races as well. Who can forget Kimi Raikkonen's win from 17th on the grid in 2005, or Kamui Kobayashi's incredible drive to a podium in 2012. A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Now, I want to talk to you about Valtteri Bottas. They need 7th or better to ensure they stay in contention for the championship. Anything outside of that, and their fate is no longer in their hands.
The key now will be to keep in the right mindset. We've seen time and again that things go wrong if you just try and do the minimum. Not necessarily because of the pressure, but because it's different to your usual approach. They'll need to avoid that and stay focused today.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position. And Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, and Perez, Oldtimer, Russell, Butler, and Roman Grosjean, Sainz, Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, and Raikkonen, Stroll, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Albon and Lucas Weber completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Alright, so we did move up just a little bit thanks to some grid penalties, it looks like, I think. We're going to go ahead and take a peek and see. We should be able to make it soft onto the mediums. We're going to go for a 1-lap undercut. I'm sure a lot of other cars are going to be pitting lap 11, but we get a little bit of a time savings there. So we are going to hop on the grid here. We've got the 5 red lights up, and the lights are out, and away we go from P7 with George Russell right behind us. A little bit of a slower start. The AI is still very strong in the straight lines there. Bumped as we're top of 3 wide there with Butler on the inside. You know, after Sergio Perez taking us out in qualifying, and now Butler ramming into us. Turn 1 seems to be a place that the AI is not particularly fond of leaving space on. They seem to exit that corner pretty aggressively, but we managed to only slip back to 1 position. We're sitting comfortably behind our teammate. And we are going to need a pretty significant pace advantage in order to make an overtake on this particular track without DRS so far. So it is likely we're going to be just kind of holding station unless there's a massive slip up on any particular corner to let us get by our teammate. There is a decent start going, not too bad. But as we head through Spoon for the first time, we are slowing up. We've actually managed to reel in George Russell quite a bit, so we'll see. Maybe we can get a good run down the back straight here and into 130R. We'll try and catch the slipstream, keep the ERS turned up. We have to lift and back out as we come through 130R. Not quite enough pace to keep the momentum to make a dive into the braking zone of the chicane. But some pretty rough oversteer. It was always tough to keep up with the AI. They seem to be able to go flat pretty easily through that area, and I just never found a spot through that bump that was particularly comfortable. We are back down into turn one. The Haas of Grosjean is starting to catch up the train a little bit. See the little blue dot of Verstappen way up at the front has really taken off. He's made some significant ground. Leclerc not really in the battle right now. He is further back in the field thanks to a grid penalty. I believe he started 17th this race. As we head under the bridge where the track crosses over the top. The only essentially figure 8 course on the track. Obviously not straight crossing roads. You wouldn't want any wrecks. But the bridge goes over the top, and you don't really notice it when you're coming over the top of the hill. It doesn't feel like you're going over a bridge because you're going so fast. You don't really pay attention to it. See, there's a racing point up there as well, kind of mixing it up in the top echelons of the grid there, and good gap past him up to the 2 Mercedes chilling there. And we have the other Red Bull, Danny Rick, just 2 slots ahead of us there. So here we are. DRS will be enabled this lap. Grosjean's got a pretty good run on us. I'm sure he's turned up his ERS. He's going to try and look down the inside, so we're going to try and leave him some room, but he just exits. He goes straight for the exit of turn 1 and just bashes our wing off. As you can see in the little picture-in-picture, end plate's gone and several of the wing elements are missing as well. So we've got to now try and limp our way back, and you can see just how much I'm having to turn the wheel to get this car around the corners. Massive understeer without that front wing downforce. We've already slid back 4 positions to P12, and we're not going to be able to hold our position very well. So we dive into the pits. We're sitting about P18 as we get into the pit lane. Obviously, the last couple cars are going to pass us up as we dive in, so we'll be coming out P20, but we've had to make a strategy adjustment. No longer going on to the mediums. Lap 3, we're going to try and take the hard compound to the end of the race. You can see that front wing coming off and then getting that screwed back on off the jacks, and away we go. Pretty clean wing change, about 6.5 seconds for the wing and the tires. So team did a good solid stop there.
Our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
But we are all by our lonesome now as we start lap 4 on these hard tires. And it's just going to be, can we turn good enough lap times, lap in, lap out, so we can make some progress back on the pit stops. But so here we go, jumping ahead, lap 12. And we hop past a huge group in the pits up to P11. As you saw, we took a quick peek at our tire wear, already about 25% wear, so we're on track to be able to make them last the end of the race, but we will be feeling some serious issues by the end. The other cars will be going on to either the mediums or the hards, depending on how far they push those soft tires. Here you go, you see a Renault kind of catching up behind us on a bit of a fresher tire set, obviously, running pretty good lap times. He's starting to close us up here. It was really a tough balance trying to find running good lap times, but also, you know, conserving the tires as much as we could. As yeah, it's Nico Hulkenberg behind us. We're catching up on Kevin Magnussen in front, but Hulkenberg is right on our tail as we're heading up this back straight. He's gonna have a good slipstream on the way to a 130R. There he goes, looking to the inside. We're gonna try and leave him a little bit of space, but again, they just swings to the outside. You see him going sideways there into the grass. We pick up a warning. VSC is deployed, so virtual safety car, not like a full safety car where they're going to stack up the field. Basically tells everybody to match a time delta that reduces your speed by about 40% of the lap time. But they got that one cleared pretty quickly. We have to kind of dance on that delta, and we've got our green flag.
Positive delta until the green flags.
So we are back to racing. Unfortunate to have Hulkenberg take himself out by really just exiting hard. So we're going to go ahead and jump a few laps ahead. Lap 17, we're starting to reel in K-Mag here. Great close down on that late braking zone. A little bit of a lockup. Not great for when we're trying to conserve the tires. But if we can reel him in through this next sector, good line on Spoon. If we can get a good exit out of Spoon, we'll have a good opportunity to overtake him into 130R, which is an area our car seemed pretty strong. I mean, we really reeled up on him. Wasn't even running full throttle into that braking zone because I didn't want to crash into the back of him. But we are nose to tail with him, so we're going to get a fantastic slipstream as we turn everything up. See, we're going to go right on by him. He's going to, for some reason, just swing left into us. Apparently try and brake. Apparently, everybody just wanted a piece of us today, but we're well clear through 130R into the braking zone for the hairpin, or not hairpin, but the chicane, but gently over the bumps. Turn up the ERS as he's going to have DRS to attack us, and again, the AI had a great exit out of the hairpin. They didn't seem to be unsettled by that massive bump coming out. But Weber has gotten through Kevin Magnussen there, so we're going to jump ahead again. Lap 20, Charles Leclerc finally fighting his way through. Went from soft to medium, so he's on a younger, faster tire. Probably not going to have too much effort getting by us. It's not something we're really going to fight coming through here. We are P9, so even loss of position to him will still be P10 and in the points, and after being crashed out, sent to the back of the field with a wing change, feel pretty alright about P10. So we let him through into turn 1. We kind of give it a little extra braking to make sure he doesn't swing into us. We've got plenty of ground to let Magnussen catch. I mean Gasly, not Magnussen. Magnussen crashed and is a little further back. But crossing the line here, lap 25, we are 1.6 seconds back of Carlos Sainz. So if we can really push, we might be able to make up one more position. But again, he's on much younger tires, about 6 laps younger, which is a significant difference considering we've already done 22 laps on these hard tires. Through the S sections once more, really fighting the understeer on these worn tires at this point. At a certain point, your mechanical grip and downforce just still isn't enough, and the car's balance, I've found, kind of shifts from being nose planted to more rear planted. Obviously, it's not as planted overall, but the front tire grips seem to feel the effects more quickly than the rears did, as I was able to nurse the slow exit speeds of some of these corners on the rear tires. But yeah, understeer was definitely a battle as we hit these later stages of the race. And down the back straight there, you can see Sainz just a little further ahead of us. 1.6 at the line last time. We'll see if we can't reel him in through 130R here and get a good run through the braking zone. Real tough to nail this braking zone now. 43% tire wear, so pretty bust up, but you can see lights up on our damage system.
DRS, you won't be able to open the rear wing. We're working on a fix. Stay out.
Yeah, you can see DRS is broken again. He's telling us to stay out. Problem we had in the last race. So Hopefully this time, we've only got 2 laps left, it's going to be pretty tough, I think, to close up into DRS range, and even if they can fix it quickly, we lost time that last lap. We were about 1.8 seconds across the line, and really coming through the S's, you can see how much I'm fighting the car, how much extra steering input I'm trying to give to get that car turned in, and how much sawing at the wheel is going on, but it looks like he's got about a 2-second advantage on us as we kind of throw it through the corners as quick as we can here. We're sitting in a pretty open area. You see probably about another 2.5, 3-second gap to the car behind us. So as long as we don't make any major mistakes, we should be able to survive in a points-paying position. But we'll see just how it goes here. Doesn't look, though, like with this last lap we're really going to be able to catch Carlos Sainz. And ironically, one of our better runs through Spoon on these super worn tires. Hit the apex a little better. But we're going to go ahead and, even on the worn tires, luckily 130R still flat out. Just tip that nose in and let the car carry through. It does skitter a little wide on the exit. But we're just kind of trying to nurse our gap back home. Big oversteer there. Kind of have to save the car, but not back out of the throttle. 2.3 seconds back of Carlos Sainz, and we are at 3.1 up on Pierre Gasly. So, again, without a major error, we should be all right. A little bit of a lockup into the braking zone of turn 2. We're really slowing down to try and not scrub the fronts as much through this corner. See, Max Verstappen from pole takes the race win with his Honda-powered Red Bull, which should be good news for that team. The engine manufacturer getting a win in their home race in Suzuka. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mercedes won Germany. I'd have to go back and look, so they would have had a win in their home race as well. We unfortunately did not get a win in Silverstone, which would have been nice in the British GP of our team's home race. But, you know, you live and learn. We should be competing with better cars for the next part of the season, although, again, as I said at the end of one of the episodes, we'll be making a difficulty adjustment, as I've definitely improved just my overall driving skill, and my familiarity with the tracks has gotten better. So I'll do some preseason, essentially, testing to see what AI can dial it up to. I didn't want to make a mid-season adjustment just because I wanted to see what tracks AIs were strong and weak at. But here we go through the bump the last time, and we crossed the line. P10, we managed to save some points.
Pick up rubber and bring it home.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
There you go, Red Bull getting to celebrate at Honda's home GP. The other 2 spots of the podium filled by Mercedes, who lock up the Constructors' Championship, I believe. And Lewis Hamilton, coming P2, extends his own personal championship lead.
So let's review the updated driver standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Charles Leclerc showed exactly how to manage yourself out on the track today. He was almost flawless out there. Incredible stuff.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. It's another clear win for Mercedes as they manage to secure the Constructors' title. An incredible performance for the whole team. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Yeah, you see Leclerc coming up from P17 to get driver of the day, coming up 9 spots. Ending our back-to-back streak of drivers of the day after Singapore and Russia, where we had some pretty good storms through the field there. And we are close to Alfa Romeo. We might be able to pull off a best of the rest constructors win, essentially, if we can just handle the next
Amazing
couple
performance
races.
out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. It was more like dodgems than Formula One today, wasn't it?
Yeah, those were just, friendly nudges. Get the elbows out into a couple of the corners. Some of the other cars really just didn't know where they were in relation to me.
It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it?
Yeah, but, Formula One, it's a team sport, so we all put in a ton of effort.
Lucas flew through the pack in that race. What's his secret?
Well, I don't think it's really a secret. He has a really good car, and he makes the most of it.
Appreciate your time.
Alright, so here we are back in the garage. It looks like we forgot to set a new rival after our last one ended. We were still leading our rivalry against George Russell. Came out pretty even this race. He had the better finish position, but I had a better, faster lap than him. We're going to take a peek and see what kind of resource points we hauled in thanks to that race, which could have been a lot better. And now that we know we're going to have to readapt the chassis upgrade that we already did, we'll use that about 1,000 points to keep making sure that that's set for the beginning of next season.
Great work. That's exactly the kind of result I'm looking for. Keep it up. Looks like one of your rivals has also been invited to a historical event. This could be a good opportunity to play up your rivalry for the press and expand your reputation.
We could have done better in the race. Obviously, our contract goals are still, in the barely making points range. So our team is relatively happy. Personally, I'm not particularly happy with the way that race went. We did make the best out of a bad situation, getting our front wing smashed off in the third lap of the race. So we had to do a lot of clear air running by ourselves. Nothing too interesting coming across in the press clippings there. So we'll pop into the R&D tree. You see we jumped a few of the cars with the last group of upgrades. So we got 1,000 to go, 5 weeks remaining, and 4 upgrades to readapt. So you can see we have to repurchase this roll dampers one, so it effectively cost extra to do it. So we'll go ahead and purchase that adaptation. We got 928 to go. The minor re-upgrades are about 200 points, although I want to make sure the car is still improving race on race. So 684 for a Halo rear downforce development, so we'll go ahead and pop that bad boy on. And we've got 244 left, so we'll be able to adapt one of these remaining minor upgrades. It's just a matter of whether we want rear floor or mid floor under tray. So we go ahead and pop that bad boy on. We should have only 2 more left to adapt. As we take a peek at the parts, the ICs are pretty hurt, and considering we've got 4 races to go and only 1 green IC, it's possible we're going to take a penalty there. Maybe. I'd like to make it to the end of the season without any more of those penalties. But depending on how our gearbox fares through the next 2 races, since we're at our 3 races, but we're already at 58%, might be taking a gearbox penalty anyway. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, thank you for joining me once again. All in all, not our best result of the season, but a decent recovery of some unfortunate circumstances. But next time we are headed out to Mexico to see if we can get back on form for the short America's swing before we head to the finale in Abu Dhabi. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.